All right, so here's how we're going to kind of kick this off, because this is the second year in a row we've been able to do this in this same location, and I still think it's incredibly cool that we can get this many people in a room for the sole reason that we all love and appreciate the wild turkey and the spring woods and everything that means to us. And so we're going to kick this entire thing off showing some appreciation to a couple things. And I guess kind of getting ready for this event, all of us guys up here, I was thinking about some people that made it to this earth before we did and kind of laid some groundwork down so that we can enjoy the things that we enjoyed during the spring that led to all of us being here in this room. If I say a name like Fox Hayes, Toxie Hayes, Will Primos, Bob Dixon, if I say a brand name like Mossy Oak, who some of which folks work there standing right over there, and I appreciate y'all being here. Think about like the work that's been done to put the wild turkey in a place that it's in now that we can enjoy hunting them every spring. And think about those individuals that I named, and there's a lot more that on a granular level taught us how to hunt and taught us how to have the attitude that we have towards this bird and towards the habitat. Think about Mossy Oak. Name a singular brand, not just a camo brand. Name a singular brand that's done more for the wild turkey than Mossy Oak has. Think about organizations like the National Wild Turkey Federation and Turkeys for Tomorrow that are on the ground doing work today to make sure we have turkeys to hunt in the future. So they say it's impossible to get a room full of people to agree on one thing. I think I can get all of us to agree on a couple things. And so I think we need to give a round of applause to folks like Fox Hayes and Toxie and Will Primos and Bob Dixon. I think we need to give a round of applause to brands like Mossy Oak and organizations like Turkeys for Tomorrow. So let's kick this off that way. So, on another level, it's super cool to be here tonight. So I guess some introductions are in order. This is Jordan Blissett. Jordan has been, you worked with Mossy Oak for how long?
Three and a half something years, and then moved from there to Primos. So yeah, almost 10 years of my life.
Yeah.
Doing this stuff.
Yeah, and then Spring Legion over here, Austin Sills. How long have y'all had Spring Legion now?
2019 was the first year, February of 19, so 4 years.
Mm-hmm. And then on the far right, it's not Hunter Ferrier's twin brother. That's his brother Chase. And then Hunter was. If you notice, there's a space here that should be filled. There's supposed to be a fifth person here, and he's not. I'm gonna let y'all handle why Hunter's not here tonight. Y'all take that away.
Yeah, we got a phone call, I guess, yesterday evening, and Hunter's expecting a baby, and they put his wife in the hospital yesterday, and they're getting ready to have a baby. So it'll be sometime in the next few days he'll have a new baby running around.
Yep, by Thursday.
She's gonna be running.
Yeah, she's gonna be running.
Yeah.
So you'll have two of them then running around.
Yep. Yeah, but it's incredibly cool to watch because, you know, Jordan and I, we grew up I grew up. Jordan lived a little bit further out, but we got buddies with these guys right when they were getting Spring Legion going, and to see what they've been able to do with that brand and how popular it's become has been so cool. But yeah, we're going to have a good time tonight. We're going to talk about turkeys. We're going to talk kind of about where turkeys are at today, so to speak. Turkeys for Tomorrow is here, if y'all haven't realized that already. Super thankful for those guys. They're responsible for some of the things that we're going to be raffling off. Also, obviously, huge thanks to Rick's Cafe, Primos Hunting, Onyx Hunt, Spring Legion, all that good stuff. To kind of get straight into the meat of the conversation, if y'all was anybody, raise your hand if anyone was here last year when we did this. Anybody? That's pretty cool.
Well.
Yeah. Y'all came back. Look at that. So last year when we got started, I got up here and ran my mouth on basically not like a super in-depth level, but a slightly detailed overview of the wild turkey just in the state of Mississippi, and how I thought it was super cool that we at one time had a whole lot of turkeys, so much in fact that guys like Aldo Loophole notated it specifically, and then we almost ran turkeys into extinction because we didn't know what we were doing. And then thank the good Lord we had people that took notice of that and took initiative and started putting forth efforts to bring them back. And now we have turkeys to hunt, but we're not not nearly as an extreme of a sense, but in some way we're in a somewhat similar situation, because when you hear, y'all know, when you hear folks talk about the glory days of turkey hunting, what time are they talking about? Like what years?
The 80s and 90s.
Right. Yeah. And now everybody in here has heard the word decline attached to turkey populations in the past few years. Would I be correct in assuming that, right? Mm-hmm. So it's an interesting situation we're in, because we're not in a spot where obviously we're not in those glory days anymore. There's a noticeable decline. I don't think anyone denies that anymore. But we're not like in a sky is falling situation by any stretch, obviously, because we still have, state regulated hunt seasons and all that. But it's cool because, again, we have organizations like Turkeys for Tomorrow popping up, which Pete, as soon as you can get away, we're going to have Pete from Turkeys for Tomorrow come up here and go through some of the research projects that they have going on and some of the work that they're doing on the ground. If y'all haven't noticed it, if y'all on y'all's table, y'all should have one of these on your table that's kind of outlining what Turkeys for Tomorrow has going on right now. Is anyone in here not familiar with Turkeys for Tomorrow? No?
That's a good thing.
It is a good thing. Yeah. So, Pete, you want to come up? Yeah. Pete's been doing the Lord's work, handing out all these raffle tickets and doing everything.
Yeah. First off, let me tell y'all, that was a 2,000 ticket roll when we started, and I cannot thank y'all enough for y'all purchasing it. So someone tonight's going a Benelli Super Black Eagle 3, black, 26-inch barrel. Your choice of 12 or 20, left or right-handed. Whoever wins it, we're going to ship it to you. So thank y'all. I can't tell y'all enough how much that means.
So, yeah, Pete, so Turkeys for Tomorrow, y'all have not been around a super long time.
Last week was our 2-year anniversary.
And that's it's crazy because it seems like y'all been around longer than that.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. But, you were kind of going over with me some of the things that you're doing. Obviously you hear, I hear Turkeys for Tomorrow all over the place, especially this time of year. I'm sure these guys have heard it. But, yeah, kind of go through some of the stuff that y'all are doing so we can learn about the actual work that y'all are putting in.
So this year, one of the biggest things we're doing is we're starting chapters. We've got 7 different states. We've got some chapters that we're starting up, fundraising events, banquets, membership drives. I actually talked to a guy today in Jackson, Mississippi that reached out about getting one started here. So that's our first one in Mississippi. So our goal is those chapters, we're going to try and raise $250,000 to go toward turkey research. And the way we are looking at these chapters is if your chapter raises money in your region, that money's staying in your region. Like if you have a chapter here in Mississippi and say here in Starkville, we're not taking Starkville's money and sending it to Montana or New York. We're going to do whatever turkey research here needs to be done, whatever habitat improvement, habitat management days, people like Adam Butler and Dr. Dana Moore in here in the state, if they need funding, it's going back to Mississippi turkeys. So that's one of the things that we're proud of that we can say is where we raise the money, that's where it goes back. It doesn't go to anywhere else. Mm-hmm. We've got some trapping initiatives that are going. That was a big thing from a survey we did last year. We partnered with No BS Traps out of Iowa. We've sold and put 4,000 dog-proof coon traps back out in hunters' hands since September. So this time of year, that's crucial. Y'all all know nest predators, raccoons, possums, how big that is on turkey nests this time of year. So that's 2 big things we're doing. Mm-hmm. And then we've got, like I said, the habitat days. We had one in Alabama recently. We've got Dr. Will Goolsby came out. It was free to the public to attend. Turkeys for Tomorrow paid for the meal. Dr. Goolsby answered questions, provided some knowledge and some insight on what to do on your property. We're having one in April. I'm pretty sure everybody knows who Dr. Grant Woods is, right? Mm-hmm. If you don't, then, you're probably hiding under a rock somewhere. But we're doing one with Dr. Woods. Turkeys for Tomorrow is helping put that on. Just giving people the opportunity to get that knowledge, to take it back to their place or share it with their buddies or family or whoever to make their property better for turkeys.
Yeah. And y'all interject whenever you want. I think Chase Grubbs was telling me about that, the Habitat Days and
Yeah.
all that earlier. I thought that was extremely cool because, Austin, I'm sure y'all get the same thing with y'all's podcast, but like people ask Jordan and I all the time, and we're not biologists. You know, though I'm serious.
Yeah, we're not biologists.
No one up here is a biologist. I don't want to paint that picture for anybody. But we'll get questions sent into the Primos page or the podcast or whatever, and they're like, "What can I do for my habitat? What can I do about this?" And we're like, "Look, we can speculate, or we can kind of tell you some things that have worked for us, or so on and so forth." But allowing that, guys like Dr. Goolsby or Grant Woods, for folks to come out there and like look and get their hands on stuff and actually see, that's incredible.
Yeah, you get around those guys and talking about like what brood habitat looks like and all these certain little features that benefit a turkey that they may not use all year but make a crucial role in their lifespan as a poult.
For that short period of time.
That's a lot of things people don't know what to look for, what they're even doing when it comes to improving it.
And it's so cool because, I mean, obviously the reason that the turkey hunting community seems to have rallied is because of this apparent decline, which obviously that's not good. But finding the silver linings involved in there is there's so many people that you wouldn't think would be interested in that level of science or habitat work, but they are, man. And
it's a lot.
There's so many people that you see, which kudos to y'all for sending out all those traps, but there's people trapping, there's people burning, there's people actually like interested in making their habitat better for a turkey, and it gives us hope for folks that do want this for the future, folks like everyone in this room, obviously.
And that's like one of the things I keep telling people at these chapter events and these fundraising events. I can sell 1 million tickets and I can give away 100 guns, but if I arm you with the knowledge of how to make your property better, and then you arm someone here, that knowledge is just passed on generation to generation, and it just makes more turkeys if you do it right.
Kind of like the old analogy, you give a man a fish.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
if you teach him how to fish, he can feed himself.
Well, and it's like we did that survey last year, that post-turkey season survey with hunters, and it was 85% of them said they saw a decline in their area of less turkeys, which, I mean, that's a pretty alarming number when you start looking at 85%.
Mm-hmm.
So
it all seems, like I said, it seems anecdotal until you get everyone in the same room and everyone has the same story, and you're like, oh, wait a minute.
What's that big word mean?
Anecdotal?
Yeah.
He wrote that down earlier, Jordan. I saw him on a piece of paper. So, yeah, one of the coolest projects that we're helping fund here is in Mississippi, and Adam Butler has just been instrumental in helping TFT, and he's got this title here in Mississippi. It's like Department of Mississippi Wild Turkey Guy or something. I don't know. It's like a new letter every time we talk to him, but he's working with Dr. Dana Mora, and they're doing a project where they are actually taking molted feathers and turkey droppings, and they're using DNA testing to tell you which turkey is which. And it's going to show people how these turkeys are traveling. It's going to show them, how many turkeys you've got on your property. It's some really cool stuff that they've got going on here in Mississippi, and I'm hoping it, that bleeds over into other states, and we can fund some other states. We're in 5, 6, 7 states now. We're working with Kansas and Iowa to work on some future projects. So it's a lot of research going on, and not just the research, but implementing the change after the research is concluded, not just continuing to do research, because it's useless if you don't start implementing the change that you need.
Yeah, that's what I heard Ron Quest say, that who works with it. Always like, we're gaining ground on finding the why, but now we got to find the how. Like, how do we revert it? How do we fix the problem?
That's right.
Because that's one of the questions is, folks will get borderline aggravated with us sometimes. Like, well, you just answer why they're declining. It's like, well, we don't exactly know 100% why. If we knew why, all this research wouldn't be going on.
We wouldn't be spending the money on research.
We'd be like, oh, we'll just fix it, But that's super cool, man. It's pretty incredible what y'all have done. And again, super thankful for y'all being here and everything that y'all have donated.
Yeah, and we brought some swag to give away, a little bit of merch. And if y'all want to join, the card on the table there, you can take your QR code and scan it. It'll take you straight to our membership page. It'll give you all the information about research we've been doing. Anything that you really want to know about TFT, it's there. And we've got a lot of good stuff coming out here in the next probably 3 to 6 months that really going to get some more eyes on this and help educate. That's our biggest thing, is education. We just don't want to do the research. We want to educate people on things too, and awareness. So
one of the coolest things y'all have going on right now, this is a live podcast, so to speak, but if you're interested in podcasts, that Wild Turkey Science podcast that y'all have.
That's huge. Dr. Goolsby and Dr. Lashley, those two, I mean, I believe and I may say it wrong, and Dr. Goolsby, and then they may kill me, but I think it was the other science category or new science. They were way up there, like top 5 on downloads when it came out, and that's all podcasts.
Right.
And that's some very interesting stuff. If you haven't listened to it, if you get a chance, and it's purely science. There's no opinion. It's all what they have gathered from data, and they don't hold back. So it's some of that hurtful truth that you hear on a few of those things.
But sometimes education hurts. But
that's right. That's right. Yeah. Sometimes it does.
Hurt your feelings anyway.
Yeah. Makes you think a little bit. Think about things you don't want to, but it makes you think. Yeah.
Well, we really appreciate y'all having us out, and we worked with y'all with Onyx. Y'all have been right on board with us from the get-go, and Spring Legion's been a big advocate and promoted us, and it just takes all of us really, and I mean that's a huge for y'all to be on board with us. We appreciate it.
We're all on the same team.
That's right. We are. We are.
Yeah, thank you, Pete.
Oh yeah,
and thank you for. Someone's going to be telling you thank you a lot when we give that
draw away.
Ticket for that gun.
And if y'all have got any questions, just feel free to come up to me and ask. I'd be happy to talk to y'all about anything involved with TFT and just turkey hunting in general.
Yeah. So we're gonna run our mouths for a little bit while longer, but after we get through, doing all that, we're going to open the floor up for questions if y'all have any. And if you Pete's going to go back down there, but if you have a question for Pete or something involving TFT, I'm for sure you won't have any problem coming back up here and speaking. We asked Pete to come up here because originally, imagine Jordan, myself, and Austin looking over these research projects that TFT was doing, and we were going to try to explain them. We were like, we'd better just get somebody from Turkeys for Tomorrow to explain it. Otherwise, we would get it probably backwards.
Yeah, that's okay. Y'all Mississippi boys, that's all right. Us Alabama boys don't have that problem.
I went to public school, man.
I did too.
Yeah, but no, we appreciate it. Just getting back to the other form of conversation and kind of keeping along this theme with.
You ready for Chase?
Yeah. Okay. Chase, you're back in. Tag team. Getting back on this, we'll kind of keep this same theme of conservation because I may be the only one feeling this way, but going into this spring turkey season, it's like the perspective is a little bit different because, like I said, it's like you've been hearing the word decline float around for several years, but we've reached a point now where you don't really hear anybody denying it anymore. And it made me think even harder about, again, the guys that came before us, the Will Primos of the world. And it makes me think, I was preparing for this event, I was watching some videos on those guys and reading quotes of theirs, and just one super common sentiment that I found. I was watching a video of Will's, and they were interviewing him, and at the time, it's been longer than that now, but at the time he was on his 30th consecutive spring turkey season. And they asked him, they were like, are you as passionate about it now as you were when you first started? And his answer was, it's probably not verbatim because I can't remember it that well, but his answer was pretty much, I appreciate the wild turkey more now and the way that they make a living and where they decide to live more than I ever have. And that was pretty much common among everyone that I admired and looked up to. They had this common theme of, I loved it then, but now that I've done it X amount of years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, I appreciate it more now than I ever have. I look at it differently. And so, Jordan, you've been turkey hunting how long?
About 7. I was just thinking about that when you were talking and telling that story. This will be my 17th season, I think, to be able to, since I started turkey hunting. And I'm right in that same category. I think I appreciate it more, and I'm more passionate about it every year that happens. And I guess it's just that labor of love that goes into it. You grow fonder and fonder of it every single year and appreciate it in different ways, too. Now that I've got a little girl, she's finna turn 4, and I'm starting to think about her starting to go hunting in a couple of years, and my whole mindset's starting to change. I'm thinking about, I got to start figuring out some places I can take her and don't wear her out, and all this different stuff's changing as I guess, mature.
Yeah, well, I'm going to take that even another direction. So I was talking to, we all are buddies with Logan Cook.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Logan, I was talking to Logan on the phone last week, and we were talking about, he was all excited because he was about to do another burn on his place, and he said, man, I don't think I can do a burn out here without Jordan showing up.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, and did you have any care in the world or any concept in the world about doing a prescribed burn to benefit turkeys when you first started doing it?
No, I didn't know anything about that because I didn't grow up in turkey hunting culture. I knew they burned woods and turkeys were there, but I didn't know where it all tied into each other. And but yeah, every time I text Logan every weekend like, "Hey, you burning today?"
Yeah, it's fun. Spring Legion crew, was it Chase, Austin, whoever. Like, that's where I kind of want to go. It's like from the time you started turkey hunting. Well, Chase, we'll go with you first.
All right.
How old were you when you started turkey hunting?
7. I'm 27 now.
So
It's my 20th year.
You've been turkey hunting longer than Jordan.
Yeah.
He's got you beat.
I didn't start till I was 15.
Hey, that's fine.
But how has your perspective changed then to now, and why?
All right. Well, first off, I was 7.
So yeah, so a
I
lot.
didn't, a lot.
Yeah.
But like probably about 17, 18 is when I really started kind of realizing I wanted to be more involved and whatnot than just turkey hunting, because I thought everybody did that, growing up. So probably 10th, 11th grades when I really got into the whole other side of things and started paying attention to more than just waking up, March 15th and it's turkey season, we're going turkey hunting.
Right.
And really over when I was about 20 is when I really started like kind of paying attention to the whole, decline issue and stuff like that. And that's kind of, I guess, when it started for me. And I actually went a season without killing a turkey when I was 21. And that's when I really was like, all right, we really got to focus in on some more management tactics and things like that. And
so you had actual concern. You could notice something was going on.
Yeah, I was going and not hearing near about the birds that I was hearing, 5 years before that and stuff like that. So, when I went a full season without a even shot opportunity, I was like, all right,
yeah,
it's definitely time to really get, especially honed in on our, places we could hunt at the time and stuff like that, and started, trapping. We can't burn the place. Still have one of the places now, and we still can't burn it, but I can go in there and knock some briars down with a machete in some certain areas and things like that. And I'm no genius when it comes to it, but I try.
Right. And it's interesting you say that too, because again, there's a lot of people out there that are trying to do any kind of habitat work they can right now.
Yep.
And there's a lot of folks that are in a situation like you that they're like, hey, I know this control burning stuff is awesome, but that's not available to me because it's a lease or something. So that's a cool point. You're still trying to find ways to improve it somehow.
Right. And the trapping, I mean, some people say it helps a ton. Some people say it's, kind of one of the more medium situations.
Hurt.
It definitely can't hurt. And since, let's see, we ain't had a turkey on that place in 3 or 4 years probably. And last year we had enough on it that we felt confident we could take 2 off of it.
Really? Yeah.
I mean, we had more turkeys last year than ever, and we probably started trapping on it 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So within 3 years that was last season. So 3 years of trapping, pretty hardcore. And that's just coons and possums. That's not including, coyotes and bobcats. So, which that's something else we got to get to working on.
Sure.
But I've taken a few out during deer season and stuff like that. Many as I see, I'll run a deer hunt real quick for a coyote or bobcat.
The opportunistic route.
Yeah. So
Austin?
I'm gonna piggyback off of kind of what Jordan said about having a kid going.
Because your Kason he's
just
4.
turned 4.
Yeah.
And I started hunting with my dad. I don't even remember an age, but like I can remember 7 when I killed my first one that I started paying attention. So that was 23 years of hunting. And like this year, and I know we've talked a lot, sent pictures back and forth of Kason deer hunting. He's getting the itch. He's loving it. Taking his BB gun with us, and that kind of opens you up a whole nother perspective that, I enjoy hunting, but it's also my job, our job as hunters to do our part to preserve that for when he gets old enough, he can enjoy it, and you're not out, I guess, I don't know if it's the right wording, but you're out of turkeys to where he can't enjoy it the same way we did, kind of deal.
When was the first time, like for you specifically, what made you notice that there was a decline in turkeys? Did you hear it from somebody? Was it from first person experience? What?
No, mine was more so hearing it. We hunted in New Hebron, and we hunted paper company land, so they kept it pretty thin. It cleared out, and they would actually do some prescribed burns themselves, so on the lease land. So we really didn't have to do a bunch, but I kind of like Jordan. I didn't really put it together till my later years that where you see a burn spot, there's turkeys. You just know that's where I'm going to hunt. And then, 15, 16 years old, I kind of put it together. Like every time I go to the burn spots, it's way better than
they just happen to be there.
So kind of putting it together, but just we had a small decline where we would, I think, I was probably 17 or 18. I had a year like Chase did. Man, I didn't kill a single turkey, and there was no problem in the years prior. But it was we were in a deer camp, so it had to do with some habitat management. It also had to do with the amount of people getting in there, killing the more birds than it has in the past, not that kind of thing. So my rule on my personal rule on turkeys, how many I'm going to kill, is I take a place and I run a camera during deer season.
Just kind of take an inventory.
Yeah, kind of take an inventory, and I take that total number of gobblers that I think I have, and I divide that by 2. And that's what you're going to get for your spring flock, roughly. And then I divide that number by 2, and that's what I try to take off of that place. So when you go from having, for the first 15 years I hunted, it was me and my granddad and 2 uncles. So when that deer camp grows and grows, and you have 10 people hunting, that number changes just because the more people killing. So
right. Yeah.
That's kind of when I noticed the numbers we were taking needed to change.
Was making a negative impact on it.
Impact.
Yeah.
So
I want to roll that into Jordan. I want to ask you the same question. Like, when was the first time for you specifically that you were like, okay, there actually is some sort of a problem here as far as turkey numbers?
I mostly just heard it hearsay, and then like when we started traveling, I really didn't notice it that much where I've hunted at Mississippi because there's never been an abundance of turkeys there.
Right.
Like, there's never been this like everywhere by any means. But when we started traveling, I started hearing other people talking about it. Well, you should have been here 5 years ago. You should have been here 2 years ago. And after kind of hearing what they were talking about and then experiencing it on some places we've hunted year after year, you kind of start seeing not a huge drastic number increase, but there's a few less this year, a few less next year. And that's where my perspective has came from, and also the knowledge we've gained from talking like Dr. Chamberlain and actually knowing the data on certain areas that they are focusing in on, actually tracking turkeys and numbers, and they're actually seeing a decline on those areas. I mean, when you put data with it, it's facts.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my experience with it, which places I hunt Mississippi too. I mean, obviously there's not like it was when I was a kid, but there's a lot of different variables that go behind that. So that's how kind of my story.
Right. I tell you what kind of was a head scratcher for me, or kind of blew my mind, I guess you could say, is if you remember, you and I. So if y'all probably heard this name before, a guy named Adam Butler. Adam is a super nice guy. He is the turkey program coordinator for the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. And I've gotten to know Adam fairly well over the past couple of years. And Adam, we did an episode with him in 2019 titled "Where Are the Turkeys?" And that was in 2019 was the first time that me and Jordan were like, okay, there's something to this whole decline thing. In 2019. Fast forward to just last week.
That was a season I couldn't hardly kill turkey.
Yeah, that's a story all its own. There weren't any around, Jordan. There was none to kill.
That's my excuse.
Last week, OnX does these master classes, webinars, whatever you want to call them. And last week we did a State of the Wild Turkey address with Michael Chamberlain, Dr. Chamberlain. And Dr. Chamberlain said in that masterclass that he had been voicing his concern about turkey populations as early as 2012. 2012. Like
10 years.
10 years ago. Over 10 years ago.
11 years.
And it's like, and it was like, I don't know if we didn't get the chance because we were more focused on what was going on right now and, what kind of work and research projects is going on right now. But it was like, you're telling me that he has been saying this for over 10 years and he's just now, and it was he was coming at it with a tone of relief, because here's the encouraging part, because I don't want to come across during this thing as doom and gloom by any stretch of the imagination. Dr. Chamberlain said that he knows right now of more turkey research going on than he has known about in the past 30 years. But just to know that that's been happening for that long, and it took all of us this long to notice it. It's like, man, I don't know if we should have been more vigilant or what, but it's pretty wild to think about in that respect.
What about you? What's your story?
Man, I mean, it had to have been during that 2019 season, because that's how I was kind of going with that, because that we'd never talked to Adam before,
right.
and we were like, we should do this podcast episode and call it "Where Are the Turkeys?" because that's kind of a cool name, and so on. But it was a combination of kind of what you talked about. We had traveled to so many different places and heard so many people with the same story of there's just not as many birds here as there used to be, and you hear that enough times, and you start, just noticing things from your own home where things weren't bad, but they definitely, something was missing. Something wasn't quite as good as it used to be. And it made me just kind of raise an eyebrow enough to ask a question. Yeah,
I remember how that whole thing came up, or like, let's get somebody that actually knows what they're talking about to tell us if this is a real concern or not. Mm-hmm. And that's how it all came about.
Yeah. So one thing that Jordan and I have figured out through much trial and much error, I'm sure y'all can relate. When we first started doing this podcast, we thought the best idea was for me and Jordan to just get on there and talk about whatever the subject was. And that rarely went well, because half the time Jordan and I don't know what we're talking about, especially if we're talking about like science and biology and turkey population. Like last week,
I have no business talking about stuff I can't spell the word.
Well,
there we go. Yeah. Same here.
Same here. Yeah. So like last week, not to open up a whole can of worms, last week we put out an episode with Dr. Will Goolsby and Dr. Marcus Lashley of the Wild Turkey Science Podcast, and they were talking about the implications of baiting, supplemental baiting, with corn on wild turkeys. Can you imagine how poorly that could have gone if you and I had just gotten up there and given our opinions about it, having no clue what we were talking about?
Would have no education backing it. But that was really eye-opening, too, with a lot of things I had never even considered thinking about, repercussions of what we're doing.
Sure. I'm going to kick it away from turkey science and decline for a little bit. Breathe a sigh of relief, Austin. Yeah. One thing tied to like where your, I guess, relationship with turkey hunting has taken you and how it has changed. Part of that, I heavily believe, just comes from the memories you gain from it, from just actually going turkey hunting.
Oh, yeah.
And so I've seen between you, Chase, and Hunter, I've seen y'all post a picture. I don't know how many of them, but I know y'all killed a turkey here in Mississippi, the three of y'all together, and it was one that y'all had hunted for a while.
Yeah, we all hunted it. And yeah,
tell me a turkey story, Austin.
All right, I'll tell it to you. He came down. I know and Hunter. I think he got down at like midnight that night before. Mm-hmm. And
let me pause you for a second. So the first time Jordan and I ever hunted with Hunter Ferrier, this Great Astound turkey author.
He shows up late.
Yeah, Hunter can write the most articulate paragraph about what turkey hunting means to him, and I'm like, man, this dude loves it. The first time we ever turkey hunted with him, we've been listening to the turkey gobble for like 10 minutes, and we're holding back from making a move on him again, and then here comes Hunter stumbling through the woods, fumbling through his turkey vest, trying to find his mask. We're like, all right. So,
do that for 20 seasons with him. Let me know how it goes. It don't change.
That morning we chased that turkey to that, and it was I'd say it's the same turkey. He's in the same spot every time. You just couldn't get to him.
Oh,
and we split up that morning and hunted till noon. Never got anything done. So
I made some power moves that morning.
Yes, you did.
I looked up and you were doing some kind of crawling tactic that I've never seen before. But anyway, we that morning Hunter got there at like midnight. I finally rounded him up and got him down there, and Chase met us down there, and we hunted that turkey, and he gobbled the same spot that he did the same morning we were there.
When were y'all there?
The year before.
The year before.
Yeah, it was the year before y'all killed him.
Yeah, but it was that turkey in the same spot. And me and Hunter looked at each other like, let's just see if we can hear something else. The last day, it was his only hunt in Mississippi last year. So we were going to try to get another one. Eased away from that one. Went to one. Ended up being across the road. So we dropped back down on that one. And you know the Mount Everest that you have to go up?
I do. Well, for Mississippi, it's a Mount Everest.
So we went straight up that hill, got on him, and it sounded like he was making almost a half moon. So we trailed him. Was what we did.
Trailed the turkey.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the only way you could do it. We couldn't get around in front
Now,
of
were
him.
y'all like seeing his tracks and following them?
No,
or
we were
like
trailing.
basing
We were
off?
trailing the
He
sun.
went that way.
What we thought was the
But
sound.
I'm getting to it.
Yeah.
We thought we were trailing him.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Come to find out, after we killed the turkey, the way those bottoms run, it was the way he was turning. It was slinging
Yeah, he's been
sounds
standing on one
different
knob.
Can you picture Austin
much
going
wrong.
up to a track and that
Because
that way?
when we killed him, we were literally in a bowl, and that's what he was doing. He was strutting around that bowl, and when he would gobble one way or another, it was going up whichever bottom, and it was throwing us
Oh,
He's just echoing around.
right. And there was one time he gobbled. It was probably an hour and a half before we killed him, and he gobbled on his own, and all three of us pointed in different directions.
totally.
And
And
we
I
went-
mean, we were going to die on that hill too because
yeah.
we all knew that it was
He's that
different
way.
directions.
Yeah.
so anyway, we made our way down in
Which
that
which
bowl.
way did y'all finally decide he gobbled from?
The way I see it.
No.
You was right.
Yeah, I was one heard him first. I've been hearing him for 10 minutes while they were working a different
And
turkey.
who, because I haven't, from the three of y'all's posts, I've yet to figure this out. Who killed the turkey?
Hunter killed the turkey.
Hunter killed the
Yeah,
turkey.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, we figured out an area where he was at. And we just dropped down in a creek, like a creek ditch, whatever you want to call it. And we walked up, and he gobbled. And I promise you, he was 30 yards. Not
We
far.
thought, yeah.
Yeah. So me and Hunter, all we did was ease down probably 20 yards from Chase and just poke over
Yeah,
the
we're,
ditch.
we're
And
in a creek, like in the rocks of a creek.
Yeah.
At this point, we had to slip across a big bottom between two ridges, and then we had to cut across a big opening. Amongst Hunter having an allergy attack that
Sure
was
did.
the worst one
Was
I've
he like
seen.
sneezing or
Sneezing,
trying to?
coughing.
Anything you could imagine was happening.
couldn't call.
Happening.
Couldn't call. 'Cause
Yeah.
anytime he'd open his mouth, he'd cough.
So that was we killed him with the wing bone, and that was the only call we could all use at the time because it was the only one that any of our allergies would allow us to.
It was
like we
bad.
couldn't keep
I
a
don't know
mouth
what
call
got
in. Like it was just I don't know what bush we kicked up.
It sounded like I dipped my mouth call in baby powder
Yeah.
and put it in my mouth. My
It
mouth
sounds
was
like
so
that
dry.
normally anyways.
Yeah, I mean, what's different about
It was
that?
even, it was even worse. But no, we did that. Me and Hunter crawled up, I guess, on the side of an oak tree, and one of us got on each side, and the turkey actually came back in front of me, and I couldn't get a shot, and it just was strutting back and forth. And
I never saw it.
walked in front of Hunter, and he killed it. And it was when we got to looking at the turkey, we figured out why he never left that general area. He had right above his spur. It was almost like his leg was broken.
Huh.
And
So you think he couldn't walk very well?
well,
He couldn't cover a lot of
I
ground.
know he couldn't walk
fight.
very well.
Oh.
And I don't think he could defend himself. But it was not broken, but it was broken. It had a big old knot. You could tell where it was
Yeah.
growing back together, and it was a little bit shorter than the other one.
Huh.
So that's kind of my opinion on why he never left that
Why
little
he just
bowl
kinda
area.
hung out in
Yeah,
that
'cause he
spot.
could see. I mean, where it was a big open hardwood bottom. He could see for a long ways. He was down there out of the wind.
Felt safe.
Yeah, felt safe. But
Bad
found
thing
him.
was,
Go ahead.
bad thing was where we were set up. It was a bend in the creek, and I was lower. I couldn't see them, and I keep hearing the drumming coming from behind me to the right where we just came from.
Right.
And I'm sitting here trying to let them know, like, hey, turn around. He's about to come off this finger ridge because it's bouncing off that finger ridge. And
Like, no, we
the whole
see.
time they're watching him at 30 yards.
And you think he's back.
And I'm sitting here, and I realized my gun was directly under my thighs.
Yeah.
Because I was on the edge of that creek. I was trying not to let it fall into the creek.
Oof.
And I just put my leg over it,
Yeah.
just to hold it there. And I'm like, this is about to get western real quick, and neither one of them are going to see any of this happen, And then about that time, Hunter shoots him. And I'm
Kaboom.
like,
Yeah.
no,
where'd y'all see him at?
that'll show you how tricky it was. Because, like he said, he thought I could hear him saying he's behind us. I'm like, no, I'm looking at him in front of us. And I was looking at him. He was behind me.
They were telling me they were looking at him. I just couldn't hear them. They were facing away from me.
Right.
So-
Right.
They put you in the ditch.
I just stay there. They didn't put me there. They just left me there. They're right.
So here's what we're going to do. That is a great story. We're going to tell one more turkey story, and then we're going to kick it over to questions and answers, or answers if we have any, and questions if y'all have any. But there was one story that I wasn't originally planning on telling here at all, because if there is a method used in turkey hunting today that gets more negative press or more hate around it, it's fanning a turkey. Am I right? Like that's the what gets the most hate. And the story that gets told, a turkey does not, no turkey gets shot. But
not even no turkeys in the county.
No, there's a story that involved mine and Jordan's first introductions to even learning what fanning was, and I guarantee you, even if you hate fanning, you'll get a kick out of this story. They haven't even heard it yet.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, it's interesting. So we're filming a Primos show, and we're trying some new places this year. It was like, 16 or 17? It was spring of 17, I think.
Somewhere in there. 17
or 18, maybe. So we're like, let's go to Kentucky. We hear all these stories about Kentucky. It's supposed to be good. Turkeys gobbling over every ridge top. So we get online. We found this outfitter through just like random search, right? Like
had no clue, no references. We just went.
FYI, vet these guys because some of them. But anyway, we show up at this place and they're guided hunts, and that sometimes could be a great thing. Sometimes it can be disastrous. And the way we've always done it, we're a guest with these people. Try not to be like the boss hog, just kind of go with the flow of the way they want to do things. And you were hunting.
Yeah.
So tell your rendition of this.
There was we'll refrain from saying names because he seemed to be a nice guy.
But from Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. Yeah. And this gentleman had to have been somewhere past the age of 60. Has big white beard down to here, and there were two other guides there, and they come out of the cabin lodge thing, and both of them are carrying 2 turkey fans apiece. And me and Jordan
are in the parking lot doing
and we're like
pre-gaming.
And like one guy's like doing like this with the fans, and the other guy would go up to him and be like, no, the form's like this. And me and Jordan are looking at him like, what is going on? Like, what are they doing with the turkey fans? Like, are they practicing for an interpretive dance? Like, what's happening? And the old guy comes out and he's like, those guys ain't doing it right. And we're like,
huh?
Doing what right? Like, we don't even know what they're doing. Like, why are they dancing with these turkey fans?
There's one difference maker here that they don't have.
Yeah. He's like, they can take all the turkey fans they want to. Ain't going to make a difference if they don't have that red hockey puck.
And we're like, huh?
And
a hockey puck?
And so, being from the southeast, which I assume most of one down here is, have you ever heard of a bait puck? A bait puck, like hockey puck. They would sell, like it looked literally like it was the size of a hockey puck, but you could pop a lid on it and there was like fish bait in there. They'd call it a bait puck and it would be red. Like I'm talking
a can of cat food.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And this fella was telling us that you could show a fan to any turkey in the world and he ain't gonna come unless you have a red bait puck and you hold it up there behind that fan so it looks like that turkey's head. And we're like, and we had never even seen anybody try to fan a turkey, hadn't heard of this methodology, and we're watching these 2 dudes dance around in the parking lot with their 2 turkey fans in each hand, and this fellow with the white beard's telling us you got to have a red bait puck, and we're like, and me and Jordan are like, where are we? This is probably not the best place for us to have ended up, but we followed that guy around for 3 days, walking down every road, approaching every field, and he'd reach into his vest, he'd grab his red bait puck and his fan, and he'd flop it out, and he'd point it around different places.
And the other guy would have 2 walking like this through all the roads, and we're just like, where are we at right now?
The guy would walk into, I'm talking like, as any turkey hunter does, if you're approaching a field that you think a turkey might be in, you ease up to it, you keep a tree between it, you kind of try to stay in the shade, you sometimes crawl, you binos, check what's out there. I mean, this dude just walks out there wide open into the field, whips his fans out. Don't see anything.
He double fisting fans.
Needless to say, we did not kill anything, and we didn't return to that place. But that was so the first, when people started saying that fanning was this deathly technique that should be frowned upon, me and Jordan were like, how can that be true? We've seen it happen.
We followed the fella around for 5 days in Kentucky and did not see it do anything.
Yeah.
But spook some.
Yeah. But Yeah.
Well, that's a story that's always be in the memory banks.
Yeah.
And, what's next? What we
Now
talking
we're going to, because everyone's eager and we're not running late, but we're close to it, especially all this stuff we want to give away. So, let me get where I can hear. We'll open the floor up to any sort of Q&A if y'all have any. Y'all can, again, if y'all have questions about turkeys for tomorrow, we can have Pete back up here. I don't, whatever in the world you want to ask questions about, if you have any. If you don't, that's fine too. But speak now, forever hold your peace. Questions? Anyone? All right.
Y'all got a story south of 70 of killing a bird in Florida?
A story south of 70. A couple.
Yeah, I think the first time I hunted down there was 2013, I think, and been going ever since. We'll leave going down there next Tuesday, too.
Did you ever kill any on the Indian reservation down there?
No, never hunted the reservation. I've heard tales of it, though. Oh, gotcha.
Y'all got any stories involved? I've heard stories about the reservations down there. Most of them have been good, but I've never hunted one.
There's quite a few like outfitters and stuff that actually buy, like, I don't know how all that works, but they run hunts on reservation, or I think you can do it yourself. I'm not sure how all that works.
The thing that's getting absolutely crazy about South Florida is the more popular turkey hunting gets, the more people are becoming very aware that South Florida is the earliest place that opens. And the thought of being able to start turkey hunting on March the 6th sounds awesome. I mean, I can attest. I mean, I think it sounds great. But I will say, if you're going to go the outfitter route or any sort of that, they are getting expensive. Yeah. And, like, I know a buddy of mine tried to book a hunt in South Florida, and they were booking like 2 years in advance because they're getting so hard to get down there, which is kind of sad, but just kind of the way it is right now. There was another guy back there who had a question. Yeah, man. Yeah, hang on, man.
Come up this way.
Yeah, come up here if you can't hear. I can't quite hear you. I'm sorry.
Ways that we could go about bridging that gap between science and turkey hunting.
That's good. That's a good question.
That's the end of the question.
Those are some really good
I
questions.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm serious. You put some thought into that one.
So on that second question about the age, the survey we did last year, we looked at the demographics from different age groups. And one of the big things that y'all's age group said they thought was part of the reason for decline in turkeys, which was surprising, was social media. Because a lot of people glorify just killing turkeys on social media. And some people, they look at that and they're like, oh man, I've got to kill a turkey. I got to get that like. Somebody's got to hit that button. You know, I need to be able to say, you know, this is how many I had on any of your socials. So that's one thing that the age group, your age group that you're talking about, saw as an issue. Where if you look at the older generation, you know, the guys that are 55, 60 and up, hope I don't offend anybody, by the way. A lot of those guys, they don't really pay that much attention to social media. So how do you bridge that gap between those two? I guess you got to talk to Pawpaw some if he ain't got Instagram, right? So, but that's...
Yeah, I think you were kind of directing the first side of that, like the older or previous generation to us had a certain way they hunt and they think that's their way, or is that what you're talking about?
So I think I know where you're getting at. And if I'm not, be like, that's not even close to what I was talking about. Is I know some guys I cross paths with some guys. You hear them talk, and they've been turkey hunting much longer than me. And I'm 31 years old, and they're significantly older than I am. And again, I'm going to preface this with this. Again, I'm not a biologist. None of us are biologists. You at least have survey data. Everything I'm throwing out right here is just an opinion. Again, we talk about, everyone hears about here in the Southeast at least, the glory days of turkey hunting being in the 80s and 90s. And you hear stories upon stories upon stories of folks that were taking, honestly, just a grotesque amount of turkeys. Like, individuals taking just so many turkeys from a single area. I'm not talking
double digits.
At the time, they weren't seeing any harm in that.
No.
There were
Right.
so many turkeys.
I mean, and I'm gonna, if any of y'all are familiar with the Bear Grease podcast that Clay Newcomb does. He did an episode series on two gentlemen from the state of Arkansas that were like bona fide turkey poachers. And it's a very interesting listen, but it's like the mindset to me from like kind of that generation, it was just much more on the take side that you see, because like Jordan said, they weren't seeing the declines that we are now, that you cross paths with folks that still see that that's the way that they should operate. Is that kind of what you're talking about? Okay.
And there are people we've talked to that, like you said, I grew up in the 90s, so I saw that 90s, like the peak, what you talk about. I remember turkeys gobbling everywhere. But there are people we've also talked to in some of these surveys that remember when there weren't turkeys. And those guys are some of the ones that they may not even kill a turkey on their property if they've just got 2 or 3 gobbling, because they're so afraid they're going to go back to where they were before the heyday, and they're just not going to shoot that turkey. And that, I understand what you're saying. You're trying to get that guy to talk to this guy, and we meet in the middle somewhere and say, okay, it's fine to take a bird off your place, but do you need to kill all the birds on your place just for the sake of just killing the turkeys? Is that what you're trying to get at? Okay.
And my opinion on that, the more information that me or whoever can get in front of one of those guys that has that mindset, over a period of time, he may start to realize, like, okay, this is making sense. The data showing, it may just take time with that. I don't think anybody's going to change their opinion overnight unless they're just absolutely ready to change.
Well, another thing, you can't just throw opinions. Once you start throwing the facts, which if you get to digging, like you said, there's plenty of facts to back all of it. You can't argue facts.
Yeah. The silver lining, I think, to give you one about your question is, I would say, do we have that bridge gapped right now? No, I don't think we do. But I think we're making incredible progress. Because, again, I mean, like, look at, again, Chamberlain said he's been saying this since 2012. And now there's more turkey research going on than he's seen in the past 30 years. And so you see groups of people like this come into one room because we all love turkey hunting. You see organizations like Turkeys for Tomorrow. And so I just believe you can't have that much of a swell in interest without there being an ongoing process of that bridge being gapped, if that makes any sense.
And if you look at the 85% of people that said we've saw a decline, that's going to be a little bit of everyone when you think about that. So some people in that age group that he's talking about that may be older guys that have been turkey hunting for a long time, they're starting to see that back to what it was when they were first starting to turkey hunt before the heyday, and maybe that kind of piques their interest. And hey, well, let me talk to this younger guy that I know and just kind of see what he's talking about here, and is that a real issue, and hey, maybe I need to listen to him. And that education part is huge. When you start making people aware and educating them, and like Jordan said, it just takes it takes time. Nothing happens overnight, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else? Questions?
I got one. I know you said you'll have chapters in 7 states.
Yeah. So if you want to start a chapter in your area, I'll give y'all my email. All my information is on the Turkeys for Tomorrow website. You can call me, text me, email me, DM me on social, whatever. And I've got some documents that I will email you, and it's an outline for what it takes to get a chapter started. And that's since we've got all these chapters going, it's pretty reliable from what we've looked at, what has to happen. I've got chapters right now in Iowa, Oklahoma, 3 in Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina, Florida, Louisiana. I'm working on one in Arkansas and Ohio. So, and then today I got some calls. I get calls every day about it. I had a guy from Idaho actually call me today, which is, that's quite a ways out there.
Yeah.
But, so and I'll be happy to give anyone that wants my number and email after we're done with this. Volunteer-wise, right now in Mississippi, I can get with Adam and we can talk to them. I don't know if they need any help like that, but in Alabama, we're doing a fertility disease study with gobblers. So Dr. Goolsby, we've got people throughout the state where if you harvest a gobbler You can take the breast, the spurs, the beard, the fan, and then you donate the carcass. And Dr. Goolsby's grad students at Auburn, they do a dissection. And we actually went down last year. They take the liver, the spleen, the testicles. They take bone samples, blood samples, and they do all that testing for various diseases, fertility, pesticides, herbicides. So that's a method of volunteering, yes. But we don't have that going on in Mississippi yet. Is there a possibility we could in the future? Maybe so. But that's one way to volunteer. When we start having these habitat days in areas, yes, we're going to need volunteers. And it may be something simple as like coming here tonight and helping get tables and chairs set up. But yeah, you can go online. There's info@turkeysfortomorrow.org. You can send an email if you got any question. And I promise you, somebody from TFT will call you back or email you back. We will not just leave you out there hanging.
One thing that we have folks message us, I'm sure Austin does too, all the time, and they're like, I don't own land. You know, like they're in a situation where they feel like there's not really much they can do to habitat work or whatever. And the answer is get involved with a conservation organization.
Exactly.
So if you want to help the wild turkey in a very practical way, in a way that will make an impact, get involved with Turkeys for Tomorrow.
Yeah, and any conservation organization. I mean, we're all looking to help wildlife, help turkeys, and I mean, it's us, anyone else, it doesn't matter, because if the money's going to research to figure out the problem, then hey, we're all for it.
For sure. Anybody else? Questions?
Do y'all have any tips on how to approach public land turkey hunting?
I'll leave that one to Chase.
How much time you got?
Hey, hit me again. What was that, Michael?
Who wants to take that one? His question was any like tips we can give to approach public land turkey hunting?
Just get
Turkey hunting or turkey hunters?
Just get Chase to take you and drop you some pins.
Man, I don't know nothing about no public land birds. Y'all hunted a lot more public land than me.
I think now the advantage you got is like an Onyx.
Yeah.
When you're going into public land, is do some e-scout before you ever, and narrow your area down that you want to put boots on the ground, because there's only so much time in a day.
Mm-hmm.
You can't cover every piece of that land with boots on the ground. So you kind of narrow it down.
As far as public land goes, I mean, it's really like you take the pressure out of the equation. It's no different than private. The turkeys are going to hang out in the same areas, the same terrain features, edge locations, creek bottoms, all that plays. I mean, to me, it doesn't matter if it's public or private. They're going to use the same habitat. So you find the right kind of habitat a turkey likes. Well, as long as it hadn't been run out of there, got a chance to find turkeys.
The best tip I can give, like the first spring that I was a student up here, and I had grown up hunting on national forest, and I didn't think hunting around here would be any different. I found out I was wrong. And to be quite honest, like I got my teeth kicked in the first spring I was here. The best success that I found was just being willing to be out there when nobody else was. And I don't necessarily mean being the first one there. Obviously, I mean, that's the one thing everybody thinks of. I'm talking about like the odd hours in the day when everyone's like, well, they're not gobbling anymore. And most of the time they're not, they're not gobbling as much as they are when they're on the limb or right when they fly down. But if they do gobble, you got a pretty good chance. So, I mean, just being out there when other people aren't, find a way to be out there when everyone else isn't, and you'll better your chances of success for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we get that question a lot. It's like, man, I want to go hunting. Y'all seem like you kill a lot of turkeys, and I'm like, brother, you don't know how much hours I spend in the woods. My batting average is lower than average.
Yeah.
But the time spent in the woods developing that skill is going to better you in the long run.
Yeah.
So just more times you get up the bat, the better chances you are hitting something.
Because like that first spring up here that got my teeth kicked in, at the time I was miserable. I was like, this is the worst. I can't kill a turkey. I don't know what's going on. Looking back at it now, I value that spring heavily because I learned a lot. Like I learned so much from getting kicked around by those public land turkeys that spring.
Yeah, you learn more from getting beat than when you win.
And I got beat
Absolutely.
a whole lot. But yeah.
You want
Or go ahead.
keep going? Only thing I can add is just boots on the ground. Well, I had something, but it's left me now. I got all messed up there. It
Good
happens.
tip.
I'll think of it in a minute and I'll tell you. I thought about it and I lost it. Nothing new.
Anybody else?
Any tips or lessons you don't like professors about like skipping class?
What department? Like, what's your major?
WFA.
What's
Okay.
that?
Wildlife, fisheries, and aquaculture. This is a true story. The first time, I was turkey hunting around here, and I was with my first cousin, who I still turkey hunt with some to this day. And when we got out there, it was like, we have to be not walking out of the woods. We have to be in the truck driving back towards campus no later than, I think it was like noon. And the turkey gobbled, and it was like 11:43, and we were like, huh. So needless to say, we got the turkey, and I go, we were supposed to have a lab that day, and it was a difficult class, and I go hauling through there, and I still got on my camo pants, and I got on my rubber boots, and I go walking through there, and the lab was over, and the professor, this is true story, I promise, not embellishing it, he looked at me, and he said, I let class out about 5 minutes ago. I was like, oh. And he said, see what you've been doing? I said, yes, sir. He said, did you get one? I said, yes, sir. Said, on your way. True story. Now, if you didn't get one, I don't know how well they would take that, but he let it go that day.
So when I was in electrical trade school, I mean, it's somewhat real school. I don't know if it's same thing as being up here, but I traded a pair of back straps for a week off to go to Illinois one time. If that helps, you can always barter.
I've always had good luck just being honest. Just telling them, hey, I'm not going to be there tomorrow.
That's what I did.
Well, that's with work, which I don't work there anymore, but I just would tell them like it was, hey, turkeys are gobbling. I'm sorry, but I ain't going to be here in the morning. When I see that pressure going to be rising up a little bit, it's going to be bluebird day.
I set my schedule to start class later, but if I was going to be late, I found a walk-in clinic. Went and got tested for the flu, just so I'd have that
That's
sheet of
a
paper
good move. That's
to return
actually
to work the next day.
That's actually strategic there.
Yeah. If I knew I was going to be late, they had a walk-in clinic up here. I'd just go in there and you need another one. I'm like, yeah.
Ain't costing you no money because your mama copay probably.
That's right. $25.
That's worth it.
Yeah, man.
Oh, yeah. He's the one I traded the backstraps with. He still tell that story?
Oh, anybody else? Going what? Yeah, man.
All right, so this is a question for all three of y'all, all three organizations. I won't mention any names, but there's a guy in South Mississippi that's got very noticed the past couple of years.
Oh, man.
Y'all know what I'm talking about?
Probably, but carry on.
I just want to ask y'all's opinion on it.
We'll let y'all handle that one first.
Yeah,
He said all three of us, Austin.
Oh,
I
man.
know. I said I'm going to let y'all handle it first.
Yeah, I don't know.
So this is my opinion. That particular gentleman you're talking about, first that kind of humor started spiraling, started, I guess, coming up and about. I laughed at it. I think he carried it, continually carries it too far. I think, especially again, we've spent the majority of the time we were up here, we were talking about appreciation of the wild turkey and conservation in the state that we're in now. I don't think that kind of attitude, especially as far as he goes, I don't like it. I don't think it's good for anybody. Personal feelings about him aside, I just don't think it's good. I look at that, I'm like, who does that help? I mean, humor's fine. But that particularly, no, I don't think it's good.
Well, there's a difference in humor and disrespect, too.
Right.
There's a big difference. And not only what he's doing and drawing the attention, it's I don't know, what other people that are following along and I guess enjoying what he's doing. It's spreading negativity through the turkey world big time. And I don't know. I'm not going to get too much into it.
No, yeah, you're fine.
But
Jordan, anything?
My biggest, I guess, concern with it is turkey hunting's a tradition that we want to be passed on, and you want to paint it in a positive light. And my biggest concern with it is, are we painting it in a positive light? Is it something we are attracting more sportsmen to want to do by that attitude, by that humor? I mean, what is it portraying us as sportsmen, conservationists, as being? That's my concern.
I'm 100% on board with them. Anything like that promotes illegal activity or, the abuse of the resource, we're not behind that at all. That's not what we're about. That's one of the problems that you have, and we'll never stand for anything like that.
Anybody else?
I'm with Pete. I'm with Pete. I'm leaving it at that.
Anybody else? Okay.
That is a good question. They repeat
So
it too.
he said, I guess a question that everybody asked themselves: if there was nobody to show a turkey to, if there was nothing to take a picture with, if it was just you in the woods and a gobbling turkey, would you still be out there hunting him?
Absolutely.
I've thought. I wouldn't say I've asked myself that same question verbatim, but I've thought those thoughts before. And it's like, man, I go back to when I was started trying. I say trying because I went. When I started trying to turkey hunt and had an interest in it, I was like 10 or 11, and but there wasn't any Instagram then, and it's. I could say personally, 100%, yeah. Social media is great. People do give it a lot of flack, but it's like, can social media have a negative effect? Sure, but it can also have a positive one. Put social media in the hands of people like Turkeys for Tomorrow, gives them more of a platform. But I'm rambling here, but yeah, I think that is a good question to ask yourself. But for me, and I can't speak for these guys, they can all take their turn, but. Yeah, I 100% would still be hunting turkeys.
Absolutely.
I actually had a conversation with somebody here last year after the show and everything, and is that better? Okay. Anyways, they were asking me to explain what Spring Legion was and everything, and that was kind of a direction I took it. It was like, that was the big concern conversation before that was if we were going to have another, somebody mentioned that we weren't going to have a turkey season at some point within the next 5 years. I don't know. But my conversation with them was, us and y'all, I'm sure also, are a group of people, like-minded individuals that if that day comes that we cannot tote a gun turkey hunting, we'll still be out there every morning. That we're free, sitting in the woods, just enjoying them, while we can.
No.
And that was my take on that. So, yes,
Good question.
very good question.
All right.
I do like showing people a picture and telling a story, though.
Yeah.
I don't think
we
anybody
all
disagree
do.
with that. But
Yeah.
also, my mind got to wondering, like, one of the top, like one of the first 2 or 3 turkeys I had killed. I was about 16 or 17 years old, and it was one of those hunts you always hear the stories about. It took me like 6 hours to kill him, and crawled from oak tree to oak tree while he was strutting around, turned backwards and tending to his hens. And I remember when I shot that turkey and got him, I was so excited. I was by myself. It was the first turkey I'd ever shot by myself, and I just sat there and kind of looked at his feathers and just so excited. But at the same time, I couldn't wait to get that thing on my four-wheeler and get him back to the house and show my dad or my mom what I had done, too. So I think, turkey hunting, even though it's social media now, there's always been that tradition of telling the story, sharing it with other people, and just showing it to other people and all that other things that come along with turkey hunting, because it is so much more than just shooting a turkey. Mm-hmm. It's the stories that come with it.
For sure.
And the friends you make along the way.
Yep.
You got one more?
The podcast before last about Lacey and the gun. Whatever happened to the gun? Nobody ever said.
About Lacey and the gun?
What was wrong with the gun, Lake? What was your gun messed up for?
We should go move to giving stuff away. I plead the fifth on that one. There's a primary goal this upcoming spring to get Lacey a turkey because I have to get that fixed. Yeah. We're gonna move to giving some stuff out. Look, before there's nothing wrong with a gun. Anyhow, before on a serious note, we're gonna start giving some stuff out before people start pouring out of here. I can speak for everybody up here on this note. Yet we cannot say how much we appreciate all of y'all showing up for this. If you want to get involved with Turkeys for Tomorrow, talk to Pete. Go to their website. They are super easy to get a hold of. After we give the stuff out, we'll be hanging out here for a while. If y'all have any more questions or anything like that, thank y'all. This has been awesome. Thanks for coming out.